Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing good today. I'm here on campus today while there's nobody here. Well, actually, there are some people working here. And outside, you will be amazed to see how loud it is outside. The birds, all the animals, they're very loud outside. It is happening like this. It's been like this since ever since everyone left. Okay, for today, I would like to respond to your answers to one of the last questions I asked last week, which is about what you think about Poe and Doyle, about popular literature and detective stories by Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, and today I would like to show you some of my thoughts on this matter. Here, we will be talking about Poe and Doyle. We are not going to uh, put them against each other. It will not be about Poe versus Doyle. No, it will be about Poe and Doyle and how they actually are strong in their own ways. Okay, so here is just one of the things I could list from Poe and Doyle. So Edgar Allan Poe, we like to think him as the inventor of the genre. However, we need to keep in mind that by inventing, it didn't mean that uh, he decided one formula or one construction which people could eventually use in the future. No, what he actually did was he was a writer who explored emotion, who explored individuals, and also the relationship between individuals and the world. He is considered as one of the Gothic writers in the United States. Uh, by Gothic here, we usually relate this to the fact that the Gothic writers explores humans in relation to nature, in which humans are just part of the nature, and humans are often uh, inferior to nature. It was important considering that uh, the 19th century was just a few centuries after the birth of modern world, right? In the modern world, humans are the ones who control the world. Humans are at the top, and everything else is below human. Humans could exploit the nature, exploit animals, exploit the world pretty much for their purpose. However, during the 19th century, uh, artists or thinkers, they started to see the world in a different way. Are we supposed to be the master of the universe? Are we really the master of the universe? And one of their explorations uh, brought life to stories about how human is just one part of nature, how the world consists of so many things that human couldn't understand. And the two famous works that we can refer to here are Moby Dick by Herman Melville and works by Edgar Allan Poe. Poe explores the world which is scary to human, and human sometimes cannot control part of it. And in many of the stories he like to write about things like that. And some of the works are included in what we call the detective stories. We have three works by Edgar Allan Poe that can be considered the first detective stories. They are Murders on the Rue Morgue, which you have read, The Purloined Letter, which I also mentioned to you, and another one, The Case of Mary Roget. And we're not going to talk about that, and we haven't talked about that. We will be talking about two things. But something that I would like for you to remember is that when Poe writes the three so-called detective stories, actually he is more into exploring the character of a person. Here, let me show you here. Here, he is exploring the character of a smart individual who can think outside the box. The person is Auguste C. Dupin. He is smart, he has read a lot, he has a big library, and he can reason things, how things happen. He makes deduction that eventually helps him explain things. And when Edgar Allan Poe was writing those stories, there was no convention for detective stories yet. So basically what he does was he applied how a person who is smart will find an answer to a mystery. That's what Edgar Allan Poe did. While Arthur Conan Doyle, in his works, we find crime detection as the main focus. And the crime detection can be narrated in a short story and can be also narrated in a novel, and the characters might the crimes might be changing, but still the main thing is that it is about the detection of a crime. And in addition to that, there was also a growing expectation and market that were waiting for stories like this. People found enjoyment in stories about a crime which is going to be solved. It became uh, part of the lifestyle for those who liked reading, to read about something like this. There was also a convention like it is now, but of course the convention was not very strict back then. And Conan Doyle kept improving the convention. So it is actually far from being a boring collection of works if you read Arthur Conan Doyle. The crimes are various, the ways to solve the crime are also various, and you will find unexpected things. By saying that there is a convention in the detective genre, it doesn't mean that all detective works are boring because you can guess. Yes, there is one way, I mean, there is a way in which you can guess what will come in a detective story, but still, when you get into the story, you will be amazed to see that there are also surprising things there. But again, the focus is not on, like Edgar Allan Poe, not on the exploration of characters, but it's more on the enjoyment of finding a crime and detecting a crime or solving a case. That's more. And in the first presentation by me on popular literature, I told you that literature has literature deals a lot with life in general, and life is so unexpected, life is so diverse, so there are so many things that anyone can explore in life that can be put into literature. However, when we get to this particular genre called detective fiction, or when we talk about popular stories in general, we know that the stories are more related to audience, are more related to convention, are more related to expectations, and writers work within those expectations, within those I would say boundaries. Okay, now let me show you a little bit of what we have discussed earlier. So here is Murders on the Rue Morgue. You know that the story is about murders of two women in a house, and the murders of women in a house, and then Auguste C. Dupin wants to find out who actually committed the crime. And there you can see how Auguste C. Dupin makes deduction, and he finds evidence and tries to explain how or what has happened to that proof of evidence, and then he keeps thinking about how something like that keeps happening, and eventually, unlike other people who would think that the one that commits a crime is another person or a bad person, here in Edgar Allan Poe's story, Auguste Dupin can think that no, it can also be done by something other than human. In this case, it's this animal, an orangutan. And that shows that he is somebody who is smart, but can think creatively, can think outside the box. And in the other story, the Purloined Letter, it's about a letter that is stolen and then kept in a house. Auguste Dupin, without having to go anywhere, unlike in Murders on the Rue Morgue, where he keeps traveling from one place to another in a city, here in the Purloined Letter, he just sits and thinks, makes deduction, and eventually finds out where the Purloined Letter is actually hidden. And again, here he can see beyond other people's way of seeing things. If people try to find something stolen in hidden places, then Auguste Dupin knows that no, if you hide it in a hidden place, which is what most people really think, then you will not find it. This is a smart person we're talking about. So he or she must have been hiding it somewhere that we do not expect. And that's by hiding it on plain sight, something that you see but then you forget or you just ignore. So that's Purloined Letter. And these two stories, again, are exploring this individual, this Auguste Dupin, a smart person who thinks outside the box, who is beyond the society's um, expectation. And if you see Murders on the Rue Morgue, you see there that there is here a tension, which is very common in the Gothic literature works. A tension between human and nature. In this case, it's about a man and an orangutan. The orangutan has been captured by man, which might have represented modern man. And then there is a point when the orangutan breaks loose and does something unexpected. All right. However, is it true that Edgar Allan Poe is the inventor or the first person to write detective stories? Well, if you go further, if you do a short research, you will find out that uh, earlier writers had written stories about crime detection, and some of them were even as old as 100 years before Edgar Allan Poe. However, Edgar Allan Poe became the the so-called the father of detective fiction. How come? See here, I give you a list that from 1747, Voltaire already wrote something, Zadig there, about crime detection, and in 1794, just less than one decade after the French Revolution. French Revolution is the time when crime detection became necessary because the ruler of the nation is no longer a king who could decide anything, but the ruler is somebody appointed by people. And when you want to decide that someone is guilty or not, then you will have to do you will have to go through a process, right? So Caleb William wrote William Goodwin not less than a decade after the French Revolution. And there was also another one. But here in 1840, sorry, not 1840, 1841, Edgar Allan Poe published The Murders in the Rue Morgue. and later on the Purloined Letter and the case of Marie Roget. Then why do people consider Edgar Allan Poe as the inventor, as the father of detective fiction? It's because the ones that we now read use a lot of the structure that Edgar Allan Poe used in the works. Edgar Allan Poe sort of created his own structure in detecting crime. There is one case, one murder, or one crime, the stealing of the theft of the letter, and then there is a process of making deductions until eventually you come up with an answer and test whether the answer is right or wrong. And this structure is the most popular, the one that is probably intuitive when somebody does crime detection. And that particular structure was replicated by later writers, so that eventually we know that Edgar Allan Poe is considered as the father of detective fiction, because the structure that he used is the one that people or detective writers later worked on and eventually developed, of course. Now, if you read detective works, you will find a lot of variations, a lot of improvements, but still the original structure was from Edgar Allan Poe. Here, the common timeline would say that Edgar Allan Poe is the first to write detective fiction. In this case, it's the one who uses that structure. Charles Dickens wrote a lot of works, and uh, some of the works are some of the works use the structure of detective fiction. And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you know, and Agatha Christie, the queen of detective fiction, there. Uh, they are the, well, we can say they are the classics in detective fiction now. Although Doyle and Christie are more well known as popular detective writers, of course, unlike Edgar Allan Poe and Charles Dickens. So that's what I can tell you about Edgar Allan Poe and Arthur Conan Doyle. They are different in the sense that Edgar Allan Poe explored the character of a person more than the crime activity itself, while Arthur Conan Doyle, he uses the crime detection as the main focus of his work. And so is Agatha Christie. And if you read Agatha Christie or later writers of detective fiction, you will find some combination between romance and detection and suspense and romance and detections, all those things. So hope you have the chance to read more. You have a lot of chance to read more. And I hope you can also share about what you have read with us here. All right, guys, that's all. Thank you very much. Stay positive, stay safe, and stay at home for now. Thank you very much. Bye.